If I told you that a man goes to a village 700 kilometers from Delhi in the hills of Uttarakhand to oversee the school that his ancestor had found and help in running it, you would be a bit curious. More than curious, in fact, you would want to know about this man. Ashish Dabral, welcome to the studios of All India Radio.
Thank you so much.
Ashish, you travel every weekend 700 kilometers to this village called Timli in Uttarakhand. Why?
Yeah, you're right, Vaisab. So I travel there every weekend from Gurgaon to my village where I was born and brought up. That is called Timli, and it's almost 5 years now since I'm traveling there every weekend. I think in the last 5 years I have just missed 2 to 3 weekends, but otherwise, I'm very punctual to my mission that I have taken.
And what is this mission which makes you travel something like 3,000 kilometers a month?
Right. So, Vaisab, the mission is basically I was born in Timli, and I've lived the life of my village. And after completing my study, I was like any other person. I was searching for job and trying to settle down, trying to build my career and earn money, or that kind of the normal goals that a person have. So I was running behind those goals. But after a gap of say 10 years, I visited back to my village, and when I realized that a lot of time is gone, but the conditions of the village are not improved. And also I think it is in my DNA, and that my forefathers were there when there were no electricity and no roads, and they set up a school there, which was very well known at that time. The Sankaracharya of Joshimath, he was a student of that school. So that kind of school was that, and we were not in a position to maintain that. So I realized that before we run for something new in our life, or before we run behind some shining thing in cities or somewhere else, I think we should maintain or at least preserve the things that we already have with us. So I think that is the mission, trying to revive that Gurukul again, where we can provide Vedic education to the children, value-based education plus modern science and technology as well. So that is the mission.
Ashish, your great-grandfather founded this Gurukul in Timli, and I believe at one time it was one of the 90 schools in United Provinces that was recognized by the British. Tell us about its history.
Right. So this school was founded in 1882, and which was on the record. I don't have records prior to that, but there are certain documents when I was in my village, and there were some old boxes, and when I was searching them, and I came to know through some documents where there is a document that says that the United Province government, the British government basically, used to fund this school from 1910 to 1919. Those documents are there, and it was 10 rupees at that time per month. So this school was among 19 schools of United Province, and this was the only school of the today's Uttarakhand that was being funded by the British government. So I think they were funding it because this school was giving some kind of quality education, or there must be some value addition. That is why they were.
So why they only funded it from 1910 to 1919?
I don't have any further records, recorded document with me. So I'm saying between 1910 to 1919 because those records are with me.
So what happened after 1919?
So after 1919, there are certain things. For example, there were few great teachers, those who were there. I mean, for example, there was a person called Acharya Lalita Prasad Dabral. He was a very well-known scholar of Shri Vidya and Vyakaranacharya as well. So he was in Lahore in 1930s. He was in Sanatan Dharma College, Lahore. He was HOD of Vedanta. Then he moved to Banaras Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya, and he was Vyakaranacharya there. He was also, a teacher of Shri Timli Vidyapeeth.
He was related to you?
Yes. How to say that? He is my grandfather's brother.
He was your grandfather?
Yeah, that's right.
He was one of your grandfather's
He
brothers?
was one of my grandfather's brothers. That's right.
One of the brothers of your grandfather?
That's correct.
So he was responsible for the progress of Timli. Who else
then
was
there was a person called Sadanand Dabral. He was also a very well-known scholar. So he has written so many books in Sanskrit, and those books are now part of curriculum of some of the universities in Uttarakhand and outside as well. I think in Sampurnanand University also those books are being taught.
So yours is a family of Sanskrit scholars?
That's correct.
So how come you ventured out into marketing and sales?
No, I'm not into marketing and sales. My profession is I'm in telecom company, so my background is of IT. My education was not related to IT. It was completed my graduation in life sciences. But whatever I'm trying to do now, I mean, I am not a Sanskrit scholar, or I haven't got any knowledge of Sanskrit. But my grandfather was Ayurvedacharya. He did his diploma from Lahore in 1933, and he was registered in Uttar Pradesh Medical Council. But he chose to serve people in that village rather than settling in Lahore or Lucknow or Bareilly or any other city at that time to earn money. So his purpose was to do something for the village itself. So I think it is somewhere in the DNA. I came out from my village and went to several cities of India. I went abroad as well and worked there. I had opportunities to join a company in UK, but I feel myself fortunate that I have seen the world, the luxury in a very early time. So I realized that that is not the real life that we should run behind.
What was your father doing?
My father was a government servant. He was working with the block development office, and he is retired now.
Yeah. So when did you decide that you have to go and oversee the development of your forefathers' school? How did it come about?
Right. So, like I've said, after so many years, when I went back to my village and I've seen the condition of people there, the children were going into the same school and the conditions were still the same. I mean, students were sitting on the ground, and when my forefather handed it over to the government, that time more than 100 students were there. I was also a student of that school in my early age. But when I went back, the school was not in the good condition, and the students' strength was very low. Government divided that school in two parts. One is primary school and other one is junior high school. And junior high school, which is from 6 to 8, that school is closed now. So that building is still there. We are trying to get it from the government so that we can run that school again on that. And the primary school is having just 3 students there now. So that is the situation on the ground right now. So I think this is my responsibility to take control of the things there, because that it is a kind of legacy that my forefathers left for us, and I feel that I should take this forward.
Why did things deteriorate so much at Timli Gurukul? That at one time it was one of the well-known schools of United Provinces, and then only 3 students were left.
Right, and I think when in around 1969, when the government of India started expanding the school infrastructure, they were opening new schools in the mountains as well. So our forefathers handed it over to them, and they might have thought that once it will go to the government, it will be transferred to the government, then government will be able to maintain it. But I think that is the situation not in our village, but that is the situation of most of the villages in Uttarakhand. The education quality is not up to the mark, and people are migrating from Uttarakhand basically because for the good education and health related issues.
So when you first decided to revive Timli Gurukul, what problems did you face?
I went there and I realized that everyone was running behind a colonial education system, or they wanted to learn English. People are running behind an employability if they can learn something with that
Employment generated
yes,
education.
That's right. And I went there and I wanted to reopen that Sanskrit school again, but I realized that if I'll open that immediately, then maybe that will be closed in next 6 months or so, because Sanskrit is something that people are not able to relate it with employability, or they are not able to find, the career options in Sanskrit basically. So what I've done, that I've started a computer center there, because that was the only computer center in that area. The next computer center was around 80 kilometers away from that place, around 4 hours from that place. So we opened a computer center, and the government school students came there to learn without any cost. We opened that center free of cost for those students. So once we built the computer center, then we started a computer center in other government schools as well. So the students whom we taught, they are now going to those government schools and they are teaching other students there. So the computer education is one thing where we are using it to connect to the more people or part of the society. Then in 2015, I have started a primary education center there where we were focusing on the English language, and then we incorporated computer education, a part of the curriculum, robotics also a part of the curriculum. We set up a video conferencing facility for them, and through my few colleagues in UK, we did partnership with a few schools there, and then we set up video conferencing between those schools so that we can exchange the cultural things and students can have broader idea about life in other countries as well. So through that school, now people are having more confidence on what we are trying to do, and we gave them what they were looking for basically. Now we are moving towards the next goal is to revive the Sanskrit Gurukul with the Vedic education, with the Sanskrit as a base. Plus we will provide them robotics education as well, the computer education as well. other science and technologies, so that, I mean, the Sanskrit will be a core of their life. They will have values in their life. Plus, if they want to achieve something in their life, they want to become a doctor or an engineer, they can go and get that position as well.
How did you get the funds to start this computer center and these other projects such as robotics and video conferencing? These are costly pursuits.
I started with my own saving, and still, I mean, most of my salary goes there every month. That is there. Then I'm fortunate that I got around £1,000 through a leading British telecom company, and I built 5 classrooms for those students from that, and the robotics kit and the other things, that was from my savings.
Ashish, are you married?
Yes, I'm married, and I have 2 kids.
You have 2
as well.
kids.
Yeah.
So your wife supports you in this endeavor?
Absolutely, my entire family supports me because they understand that the purpose that we are working for. And
I asked this question because you said your savings go into this school. So how she manages the house?
right, so my father, as I said, that my father is retired from the government service, so he also gets his pension. So we club it together, and then that is how it is going on. So my family is settled at Rishikesh, and earlier I was in Mumbai with a multinational company. And my son was studying in a good school there. I mean, we call it a good school because the fees was high. So we moved to Rishikesh so that we can, manage our expenses and utilize the money for the better cause.
You have made sacrifices to finance your forefathers' school.
I think someone had to do that because without sacrifices, I'm sure that it will take generations to bring it back to the place where it was.
But 30 students in that school, what is their future?
Right. Their future is, I think they were getting earlier. I think it is 100 times better that whatever they are getting right now. So we are giving them best education that we can provide them. For example, if I'll give you an example, like they participated in World Robot Olympiad, and that was the only school from Uttarakhand that participated in that kind of competition.
Where was it held?
It was held in Gurgaon last year, and this year it was in Dehradun. So that kind of exposure those kids are getting from remote villages of Uttarakhand. I think their future will be bright because we are not trying to make them
To enter a rat race, you mean?
right, or we just don't want to make them a kind of so that they can get employment somewhere, or we are trying to give them a kind of confidence that once they will go out in the market, so they will have confidence and they will have their life in their control. I think that is the more important part.
Ashish, physically it is daunting. Every weekend, 700 kilometers. How do you keep up your energy levels?
Navinji, I believe if we have a purpose, a very clear purpose in our life or a mission in our life, then I think all these things, I mean, sometimes I feel it surprising that, mostly people focus on the 700 kilometer journey or the 10 hours journey every weekend. I think that is not important. The important part is the purpose, what we are trying to achieve. And as the weeks are going or the days are going, I think the energy level is not an issue. The issue is that I have very less time to achieve whatever I'm trying to achieve in my life.
Ashish Dabral, if the youth of this country were to follow your example, I'm sure India will be on path of greatness. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bhai.